outside with Shad. You're the only one that jumped on. Oh, here they come. It's all going to happen quick. It's all going to happen quick. Vacation City, what's up? I was really hoping a lot of people would jump on. Maybe I should just title this Traditional Bow Shooting and then everybody would be there. All right, who else just jumped on? I know there's some folks jumping on there. What would be rude? Hey, hey. All right, so I didn't want to shoot the bow tonight. Man, I'm smoked. I've had a long couple days here, and then last night was a very long night. I probably got about 3 hours of sleep between yesterday and today. We are desperately trying to get to bed at some point early. But what I did want to do is jump on YM. Did you see the thumbnail for the live? Keo, why you surprised I'm streaming, man? I should be in bed sleeping. Well, the cat's out of the bag. That thumbnail is the buck I shot last night. It's a true giant for a Maryland whitetail deer. I'm super stoked about it. We're gonna be working on a video here to bring it live to everybody. Probably, I don't know if it's gonna happen this weekend yet, but the wife's out of town over the next couple days, so I'll have some free time. I won't be hunting, and I should be able to get it up, get everything posted. But I thought a lot of folks would jump on. Maybe we have an opportunity to do a little Q&A, how we got it done, what kind of work went into it, see what happens. Yeah, I shot a 12 point in Maryland last night. Not with the recurve. When I first went in and saw these deer on last Monday, because this has been a week-long process. It's been a cat and mouse game with this deer. Was in there, and I had a pretty good wind coming up out of this bottom, and I could smell deer just before dark. So I took the binos out. I started doing a lot of glassing, and I was able to see them down there. And there was three really good bucks standing in a creek bottom, and then a smaller 8 point that was with them. Beckett, what's going on? Thank you, thank you. Good morning from India. How are you? But anyway, as things would play out over the next couple days, I went back in on Thursday, and I set up in basically the same spot that they were located in on Monday night. And then they come in up on the ridge above me, and this massive deer just come in and started tearing up all the trees around it, and it was trying to rub its velvet off real quick. And that was one of the three that I saw Monday. He's with an 8 point. That 8 point later on, maybe 15, 20 minutes into it, he come down and worked in below me. And people are crazy if they claim they can't smell deer. You have to know what you're smelling for, and then you have to be aware of that when you're in the woods, right? And if you train yourself to do it, it's pretty easy. But then this 8 point comes in. I got the recurve that evening. Really kind of psyched about trying to shoot one with the recurve, but he come into 12.5 yards, 13 yards, and there's no way I'm taking the shot if that other big buck is up on the hill, and he's probably coming the same way. Well, he did, but he come in at probably 35 or 38 yards. Didn't offer me a shot. He's in heavy brush. Yeah, you can smell estrus. Absolutely. But what I was smelling was the tarsal glands when they put their feet in the water. It's probably twice as potent when they're wet, right? It's like smelling a wet dog. If you take your dog and you put it in the house after you sprayed it with a garden hose, it's gonna smell. Yeah, they're real deer. So anyway, set up Thursday. Kind of disappointed that it didn't come by on Thursday, and then Friday couldn't hunt. Saturday I did not hunt the morning. I went in Saturday afternoon. I had no idea what the pressure was like in the morning. There could have been quite a few dudes in there. Who knows? Either way, the wind was definitely blowing a different direction. I didn't have that wind vortex on the top of the hill where he's bedding that I'd normally have, and temperatures were super high. It was like 85, 86 degrees when we went in. So beat feet down over the hill, got set up, and I sat there for hours. Did not see a deer. So I was kind of like, wow, this could get interesting because we are playing this cat and mouse game. I know he's in here. I know he's on an early season like routine. He's doing the same basic stuff every day. So uh, Monday evening, he's already had a day and a half, 2 days, pretty much since Saturday evening's pressure, and I wanted to jump in there. Becky, hello, how are you? I used a bow. I used my Matthews. Nope, I was not on the ground. I was probably 35 feet in a tree using a saddle. And again, this is going to be an awesome piece of footage when we get the video put together and get it launched. So we're taking our time with that. IFV, what's going on, my man? Did you see the thumbnail? Oh, somebody's seen the thumbnail. Yeah, I hunt. IFV, I shot a massive 12 point in Maryland yesterday in the evening just before dark. YM says he saw it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to pull it up. I don't know if I have one. I think I have a pending video here to release. Um, we'll see if I can. We'll see if I can pull it up here quick. But anyway, setting up on Monday was a little bit different. I went in, and again, I had the same wind I had Saturday, so I thought there's a possibility he could be bedding in a different spot on that wind. He could be on the opposite ridge and then come down to water from the other side and then go off to feeding. But I kind of stuck with my senses. I walked a little bit further down the trail, almost to the border of the piece of public that I'm hunting, and there's a private piece there, and then there's some ag fields up on the hill. But I walked up there and again have the wind blowing right in my face, which that's the direction I want it to come from. But when I go on the other side, it's blowing down the hill. Again, that vortex because there's a real steep ridge on the other side that gets light as the sun's setting, and the side that I'm hunting on is dark. So you have that cool air on the dark side flowing down, hitting that warm air and picking up, and then coming across that wind. So he's sitting on the top of the hill in that thermal, like it's a thermal tunnel. And thanks, YM. I think I'm a Winchester guy. So as he's in that thermal tunnel, he's got every advantage to him. So when I walked in on the top, again, I had the wind in my face. I'm probably only 150 yards from him, and I can again smell him when he's bedded. So uh, what I did is I walked back down around. I come in the bottom. Again, the wind's blowing down off the top, just like I expected. I set up on the same trail that smaller buck came in on Thursday, and like clockwork, 6:55, man. The time between 6:50 and 6:55, he's coming down that hill. He walked straight down that hill, and I shot him at 18 yards, and then he ran off about 45 yards and stood there for what seemed like an eternity. It was probably 5 minutes, and then finally started to get real wobbly and fell over. He did not want to give up. Prime, I do remember you. Every time you jump on, you ask me that. Mississippi, howdy. Harry, I shot a 12 pointer last night. A big old beautiful buck. All right, we are in where we need to be. Because I just want to show you guys, like, maybe we could talk about it while you're on the, I don't know, can I play it? I think I can play it from here. Oh, it's loading up. Looked like a big rack, yeah. I did do it with the Matthews. Again, IFV, this is one of those challenging decisions I had to make. Um, as you can see, I have some decent bucks on the wall. Like, that's a pretty big deer. But I had 3 deer in there. One of them that I was estimating about 140. That's the one I shot. He's probably in actuality like a 135-ish, 137-ish, something like that when you score him. Thank you. But there's a 160 in there and probably another deer that's like 150, somewhere in the middle of these 2 deer. And with that caliber of deer, I felt that what I needed to do was go in there and just take them. So that's what I did. If you guys didn't see the thumbnail, there's the picture. And I'm guessing he's a 4-year-old deer, but I don't know. We're gonna take a look at the teeth. We might get him aged, but what I don't want to do, I don't want to post up the videos just yet. Like, we're on the brink of putting everything together, and as we get it together, we're gonna post up those videos. He is an absolute toad. No, I don't really hunt bears too much. I have gone after black bear here in Pennsylvania, but it's not something I do. I think realistically, the toughest animal for us to hunt here in Pennsylvania is probably the whitetail, and I would argue it may be the toughest animal to hunt anywhere. They're just super adapted to surviving. And I think they understand hunters and hunter pressure more than some of these other animals. I mean, elk will stand there and look at you in somebody's backyard in Colorado. Mule deer will do the same thing. You'll never see a mature whitetail standing in somebody's backyard. Like, I mean, I won't say never, but Prime, I don't know if I have a favorite gun. I don't know, probably a Bergara BMR 22. Yeah, listen, YM, this deer was coming down. Everything happened super quick till I got the camera on and got the shot lined up. He was quartering pretty hard away from me, and I entered like last rib, maybe 3 inches behind the last rib, and come out 3 inches on the other rib. I got basically one lung and the liver, and man, that broadhead just tore him up. They didn't bend. No, I didn't look at it that close, but I would probably just wash that thing up and use it again. Put a new collar on it and stick it right back in the quiver. Chance, yeah, if you guys want to hear those, let's start right there with this guy right here. I hunted a lot as a kid, and then somewhere around the age of 24, I took a break from hunting. And the reason I did that is because I was out riding a bunch of motorcycles with my buddies, and I just couldn't get into it. So I would take the gun for a walk maybe 2-3 times a year in rifle season, and that was about it. Um, thanks, YM. So yeah, I'm trying to, what I'm trying to do is kind of like I like to teach people what my setups are about, right? Um, but I'm going to we'll get to that because I definitely want to address that question. But let me explain these couple of bucks real quick. So this one here, when I got back into it, I was on the struggle bus for a little bit. I was hunting with a good buddy of mine that I worked with, and he come out of the gate like super successful, and it just seemed like I was having trouble seeing bucks. So I did a lot of experimenting with hunting over scrapes, and I found a good scrape that was always hot. And in 2019, I went into this scrape. I set up on this deer, and probably only 13, 14 feet off the ground and only maybe 12 yards away. This deer come in to work the scrape on an evening hunt. I think the date was 26 October. I have the tag, it's on the back. I have to look, but probably 26 October, I shot that deer over a scrape. So it was like my first real success on a good pre-rut buck. He's only a 7 point, probably measures about 100 inches, but he was a big deer, probably 3.5-year-old deer. And for Pennsylvania, your first deer back after taking 10 years off, that's pretty good way to start. Then if we move over here to this one, the reason I shot this deer, if you take a look at it, it's got sort of a double neck patch. Now, I know the lighting in here isn't real good, but it's got like a triangular neck patch there. He's a 9 point, a young deer. He was probably a 2.5-year-old deer. Today, I would pass that deer all day long and let him get bigger. But the significant part with that deer is, again, a hunt in the evening after work. I had seen that deer, I think on a Monday, and or maybe it was a Saturday, but I think it was a Monday. I couldn't hunt the following day, sort of like the one I just shot. And then I jumped out of work on the 7th of October, which is another early season buck. That's why his neck isn't real thick. He's not rutted up or anything. Makes him look a little bit younger. He probably could be a 3-year-old deer, but he wasn't shot in the rut. These early season bucks, they don't have the testosterone. They don't have all these giant muscles hanging out in them like this one and this guy over here. But because that deer had a neck patch and I was able to spot him from like 90 yards out, I was starting to really dial in on how I approach buck hunting. And my MO is to find one, watch what he does once or twice, and then move in for the kill. So that's what I did with that one. The day that I moved in for the kill, the wind was blowing 25 miles an hour. We had a huge windstorm blow through that day. And just at dark, him and the other two bucks he were with come into a feeding tree. And then I was set up over a scrape on a little knoll behind him. And I shot him at 47 yards in a 25-mile-an-hour crosswind from the ground. In, again, very last light scenario, 2-3 minutes left of last light. So it's super dark. Bass fishing. Love it, dude. This guy right here, that was last year's buck. He's another monarch. He's a big deer. The cool quality about him is he's got these massive 6-inch brow tines, and they're as long as his main the tines up there, the G2s and G3s. Cool part about that buck, again, same MO. I bumped him out of his bed in the middle of a CRP field, and he ran off, and he used a very specific escape route. So I keyed in on his escape route because I knew that he was going to bed in that grass, and the chances that somebody else would bump him was high. So keyed in on him, hunted that escape route a couple times, and in hunting the escape route, he never did come through because nobody ever bumped him, but I did see him sneak down through a gully about 90 yards from me, and he was consistent. So within 3 days, I was able to repattern him on not an escape route, but his actual travel corridor. So I jumped in there and was able to take him at 26 yards at 4:30 in the afternoon on November 7th of last year. And then I killed another buck in Maryland That's one of these guys over here. 2 days after that, and then this rather large gentleman here. The reason that the channel is called the Pain Train revolves specifically around that buck right there. He was located 3 miles from any parking lot. Access was completely ridiculous. You basically had to walk 2.7 miles into the woods. Then you had to climb, 900 feet straight up a mountain. And this guy was in a giant laurel patch at the top of that mountain, feeding on acorns and doing his rut thing with a couple of his buddies. I had an opportunity to shoot. I think he was an 11 point because he had a split G2 on one side that year. But I thought he was only a 3-year-old deer. So this guy had a bit bigger of a rack. And when he came in on a Wednesday evening, I ended up drawing back on him, trying to get real low in the saddle. And it's just so thick and brushy in there. I smashed a tree branch that was about this big, about 7 feet in front of me. Arrow fell to the ground. And then I went in 2 days later and I set up in a different spot because there was high winds on the mountain. And I knew he'd be tucked away in some real real thick cover, trying to stay out of the wind. And he got up at last light to work a scrape. Came into 7 yards on the offhand side, so I'd have to go over the tree or go over the tether. He looked right up at me, skirted around, and came in to try to check the scrape from downwind, because when he come over the ridge, all I could smell was his tarsal right in my face. And when he got over here on the left-hand side of me, on my strong side, I was able to whack him at 26 yards. The crazy part about that one is I left the truck at 3:15 in the morning with Al, and I got back to the truck at about 20 after 1 the following morning with the deer. So that was a nightmare scenario. That's why we call it the Pain Train. We didn't carry it. We drug it a long way. I had a bear try to take that deer off of me when I was going back and forth up and down the mountain trying to move gear off and get the deer down. Brantley, I shot an 11 point last night. Well, he's probably got 12. We're only counting 11 on it. Just a massive deer. Creek water, thank you. When Al's taking that video, my face is red because we just ran out of the woods to grab all the, take all the gear out and grab the cart and come back in. Country boy, hey, what's up? Peter waving a hand from Texas. Yeah, so I just wanted to jump on. I'm so tired I can't shoot. My legs hurt so bad from dragging this deer out last night. Like I'm just getting old, man. But I feel, as far as from the hunting standpoint, I'm a 43X guy, man. That's what I do. I love the 43X. But I think from a mental aspect and from a patience aspect on trying to go out and really target big bucks on public ground, I feel like I'm in my prime. That's why I like evening hunts, man. I can take my time. I can really just sneak into a spot and set up exactly where I feel like I need to be. In the mornings, I'll feel like it's rushed because you got to try to beat daylight, and especially if you're traveling an hour and 40 minutes, man, it's ridiculous. But I want to jump on, give you guys a feeler of what happened, let you know what's going on. Tomorrow, I am definitely going to shoot live a little bit. We'll get back on the regular schedule. Big smiles all around. Al still has the buck stash, that's for sure. He's probably not losing it anytime soon. He's got some goals and aspirations to hunt the rut this year, and again, he wants to try to focus on, some of these techniques that I'm using, because I try to lead him down that path. And we had talked about that on the ride home from shooting this deer. That's one of the things I'd like to see him do, is kind of get out of his comfort zone and find a buck, and then just say, you know what, I'm hunting that buck and that buck only until I kill it. That's a new level of hunting. I think the majority of people, they just, they're out in a tree, they're in a good spot, or they're in a spot that produces for them, and the first legal buck that runs down, they'll take it. he can trim it if he wants. It just ain't coming off his face, that's all. Oh, I love this stuff. I wish I wasn't so tired. I'd go out, I'd plug the lights in, and I'd get the bow out, and I'd sling some arrows. But man, I'm just beat, super beat. So what else is going on? Everybody kind of get the idea how we hunted that buck on just a really unique kind of thermal hub. There's a real steep bank on the opposite side ridge. The sun hits that. It's warm. Sun's not hitting this ridge. That thermal movement of the wind as the wind is blowing over top, the prevailing wind, that cool air is sucking that wind down. It's bouncing off that ridge over there and just kind of just a circular motion in there with the wind over the top. It creates a perfect scenario for me because I can hunt that deer's bedding area, and all he's doing is sitting up on that trail with his eyes out towards the trail, watching people coming and go. And I'm 100% certain he saw me when I could smell him, but never got out of the bed because I never come off the trail. But then I turned around, backtracked him all the way down, snuck in behind him, and now I've got that thermal air coming down off, and he has no idea I'm there. And it's super thick in there, so he feels protected. He's going to go down, he's going to drink some water and move off, and bam, we just stuck it to him. Jordis, I like hunting too, my man. How can you justify killing innocent animals? Yeah, I don't have to justify it. Just do it. It's legal. I mean, I don't have to. I do different stuff than everybody else does. People do their own thing. I mean, I don't think it affects you. So yeah, this is a place, IFE, this is a place that's going to continue to produce really big bucks, as long as I don't let anybody know it's there. Hunting is the best. Hunting is a great, like, it's an absolutely amazing thing to do. It challenges you in a way that you can't be challenged any other way. Yeah, it's part of circle of life, you know. What I will say though, like we could get into it, right? Because if I try to think about how I do it, um, I like to be as, I don't know, true to hunting as I can be, right? And that's why we're going back to the recurves. That's why we're doing a lot of that stuff. Uh, but there's a lot of controversy on the socials today about whether or not you should bait deer, or whether a corn pile is the equivalent of a food plot on a big farm, or whether hunting over a cornfield should be, like, we got to face some facts here. You have to operate within the legal realm of the activity that you're doing. That's the first thing. And if your state decides, hey, that's legal and you can do it, then fine, do it. I don't have a problem with that. But for me personally, like this whole baiting thing, it's just not for me. I want to use all of my senses. I want to use all of the skills that I've acquired over the year to go out and outsmart an animal that by any other means probably would not be harvested. Uh, this is a bow only place that I hunt. So the chances that somebody's going to outsmart this guy and get in close enough to kill him, it's not good. Like this was a very smart deer. I mean, we played the game with him for 7 days. I feel intimately involved in his daily patterns over the last week. Uh, and when it comes to baiting, I'm not using any of those senses. I'm just putting some food out there. I'm offering some food, and then I'm going to set up and ambush them. It's just not the same for me. It's just not my cup of tea. Yeah, I do remember when the animals can hunt you back. And I've had animals hunt me with a rifle, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Jordis, how many dogs you got? 7. I'm going to say 7, and they're not Ridgebacks because those are IFVs. Yeah, IFV, we're trying to. I really want to get this video out this week. I think it'd be awesome. But we're kind of like we're working on the monetization process too. So I don't know if it makes sense right now. Like from that standpoint, I don't know if it makes sense to push the video. Suppose this thing blows up and you get 300,000 views, like we'd miss out on that stuff from a monetization aspect. And like I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off YouTube, but what I would like to do, I would like to have a little scratch to buy a better camera. If I had a good DSLR camera, I could get a lot of better photos, a lot of better videos for the content. Yeah, we've been hunted by animals with rifles. K Roach, you can't see me. How about now? Can you see this? There it is. Mustang 3.0. By the look of that picture, it's doing pretty good. Chicken Ninny, what's going on? Hey, I just want you guys to know this is super personal live because this is the smallest group we've had in a long time, and it's all the long time super followers and everybody that I'm real familiar with. Big Sexy, what's going on? I don't know. That's I have to talk to Al about that. I don't know. But what I'd like to do, I'd like to see what his thing is. Like everything we do here as a channel, like it's not an own person. Like I don't have my own personal decisions in it, right? Like I got to talk to him, and if it's something he's interested in, I might be down for that. Just a deer, man. The camo's working. Dude, I'm telling you what, like I'm stoked about. I'm even wearing it now because it's super comfy. I just got it out of the washing machine because it was covered in blood from last night. Um, dude, I'm loving this thing. Daisy, this deer, listen, believe it or not, that's a Maryland public land deer. Baltimore County. That's all the information I'm going to give you because I think the spot that I found there is going to produce long term like some big bucks. The Maryland archery season opened what, the 6th of September. The interesting story about this deer, and you'll get some of this in the video too. But the video that shot of him on Thursday, and I killed him on Monday. But the video on Thursday, I had him at 46 yards when I had the recurve, 47 yards, and he's just absolutely thrashing trees because he's just covered in blood and velvet and just trying to get it all off him. So we got some, and again, super dark footage and grainy footage because I'm zoomed all the way in on I got a digital zoom on a digital camera. It's not as good as like a DSLR camera. So I've got to upgrade. I've got to get some better equipment to help bring this stuff to you guys in a better fashion. We're also like, I'm still going to do it live. I'm going to shoot a doe on live or something one of these mornings. It's going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. So Jordis has 4 dogs. Jordis, what kind of dogs are there? Are they all different? The spread on that deer it's not fantastic. He's really tight and narrow. But I'll tell you what, the big tines you're seeing there, those are actually the G3s. They're not the G2s. He's got double split G2s. Let's see if I can get a picture of from the side here. Yeah, you really can't see. But I got a bunch of other pictures, a bunch of other shots. But it's like he's this tall above his ears. It's just so tall. Just a fantastic buck for Maryland. Grayson, you're on. What's going on? All right, Daisy wants to see again. But you can see there on the right hand side, when I lay it down, you can see the split G2 there. And you can see it on the right hand side when I first pick them up. So yeah, I'm super stoked about it, and I just want to jump on and tell you guys about it a little bit, see what your thoughts are, because I feel like the last 3 days I haven't been shooting, haven't kind of been in touch with you guys, and it's been a little crazy. So that old guy, yeah, that old guy. Thanks, Daisy. I appreciate it. Brandon, I hope you're the best of luck this year in Tennessee. Tennessee is one of those spots that if I had to pick any place to hunt, I don't know if it would be Tennessee. Uh, I've hung out down there in the mountains. The mountains are tough, and I did not see a whole lot of deer. So the first thing I did is I went back to the data and I wanted to see, well, how many deer are in Tennessee and what's it look like from a harvest perspective. You guys have a hard go at hunting in Tennessee. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, he's going on the wall. We uh, we took him to an approved taxidermist. We left there with 4 quarters of meat and 2 backstraps. So Brandon, Ohio's a place I'd love to hunt, man. They got some big bucks out there. Big Sexy, they do a lot of dog hunting down there. They do a lot of dog hunting for bears. Tennessee, South Carolina. I've been down there when they're running bears. It's quite a sight. Big Sexy, what's the best way to get in touch with you if I wanna do this? If I talk to Al, I'm gonna have that one. Oh, yeah, yeah. He's got, like I said, he's got double G2s back there. He's not really a 12 point. That one sticker on the front, I'm not counting that. He's an 11 point. But anyway, is what it is. What the heck else could I show you? Hunting franchise of Legends, the Pain Train Tour, huh? Well, maybe. Um, Again, I think that's sort of our vision. There's a lot of folks that put a lot of people in some spots. There's a lot of just unrealistic expectations that come from all of this social media stuff, and I'm just trying to show you what an average old tired broken down guy can do with a couple of years of experience and just some really diehard perseverance, and that's what I want to bring to everybody. And I have my own opinions on scent control. I have my opinions on all of these products that they push. um, some of the gear is super overpriced. You can get away with cheaper stuff, but I do find that a lot of times when you pay top dollar for stuff, you're either getting some sort of quality in return that's unmatched, or you're getting some sort of weight savings if you're talking saddle gear. But what it all comes down to is just it's super personalized, and I don't think anybody has a right to tell you how to do it. If there are people that are new to it and they're going to ask for advice, I'm going to tell them, like point blank, what I think the best way forward is for them based on their scenario. Because if somebody asks me for advice on a bow, the first thing I ask them is, well, what's your budget? And if somebody's going to ask me, hey, what's the top 5 things you need to go archery hunting if you're just starting? Well, again, I'm going to ask you what your budget is. I'm going to ask you, how are you going to plan from hunting from the ground? Are you planning on hunting from a stand? Are you using a crossbow, traditional bow, or a vertical bow? Like, you got to tell me a little bit about your scenario, because if you just say, hey, what's the best bow? I could try to push you a Matthews because I like the Matthews I got, but I also got a great PSE that I killed a lot of deer with. I just felt like that's an older model bow, and the back wall's just not for me, so I switched. Um, but somebody might like that old used PSE, and who am I to tell you that you need to buy a new bow and spend $2,000 on it? IFE, I'm glad you're out with the bow and shooting. I appreciate all the kind words and everything as you follow along in this crazy story. Yeah, gold tip Hunter 300 spines, dude. I used gold tip Hunter 340s for my 58-pound PSE. Again, when you say, hey, what's the best arrow? Does it really matter what the best arrow is? Like, what's your setup? What poundage are you shooting? Are you shooting the correct spine arrow? At least getting in the ballpark. And then are you looking at some sort of FOC, forward to center? Are you using an insert? And then what broadheads are you going to run? Like, that's more important than saying, oh, I like the Easton Legacies because they're built in America. So, like, that's kind of the direction I think the channel's going. Somebody will say, hey, look, what do you think of ScentLok? And I'll be like, yeah, I used ScentLok for a long time. Do I think it has any bearing on any of the bucks I killed? Probably not. If any, very little. Did I used to use spray and spray my boots down and stuff? Yeah, but I haven't used that stuff for years because it's not. You are much better off learning to strategize around what's happening with the wind and where a buck is located and where he's going to head. Like, that's far more important than any scent. I mean, you could be sitting in that tree smoking a cigarette if the wind's blowing 20 miles in your face and he's coming from up the hill and he wants to go down there for a drink. It doesn't matter what you're doing down there. Um, I do the lives from the tree stand. I always have somebody in there telling me, oh, you move too much. You're never going to shoot a deer like that. And then I shoot a 135-inch Pope and Young buck on public Maryland land. So I don't know. There's a lot of guys that love the solo cam so much. There's a dude I worked with. He bought a new bow. He bought a V3X just like I did. I think he got a 31 instead of the 29 or the 33. I think it is, not a 31. Why did I say 31? But throughout that process, he went back and forth for like 2 years until he finally committed to the V3X. But he was always going back to that solo cam. I haven't had a flagship Hoyt either. I have shot some really nice Hoyts. I got nothing bad to say. I mean, they're great bows. Norseman, I hope you do, man. She could use a guy to chase her around. Just be gentle. She's old and frail. Big Sexy, what do you think of the Dreamline? Kits. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that mentality. Like, you just got to do you. This is a personalized thing. I mean, you want to go out and shoot fixed blades, great. Tune your bow. You're going to need a little bit more time, a little bit more effort in your setup. You can get, if you don't have time and you're working 9 to 5, you're raising 3 kids with a wife that's also got a job, and you can shoot maybe 2 hours a week for the 2-3 weeks leading up to the season. Maybe fixed blades ain't for you. Maybe throwing a real cheap NAP Spitfire on there and going to town on some deer at 30-40 yards is perfect. Yeah, I don't think you were probably shooting it that day you were up at the shoot there with Bill and Bowmat Outdoors, but I wasn't up there. I don't know why. I don't even know what I had going on. Hi. What's anybody else got? Strategy questions for big bucks, right? Yeah, he is getting cabin fever. He was pretty elated though when I sent him the picture because like I don't know what happened or how it all transpired, but I'm down in this ditch. I would have went live, but I couldn't. I had no cell service down there, and I don't know what I did, but I sent a couple pictures off, and then we got back to work. In like 45 minutes to an hour, we're back at the truck because we're about a mile in and way down in this creek bottom. We had about a 300-yard straight up a hill to go. Uh, a Fieldcraft video. Yeah, he's always talking about doing that kind of stuff. And he's also talking about like the outdoor survival kind of stuff. But Bill was, I think he was about to have a heart attack because he thought we're all messing with him. But I'm standing there holding a deer. I don't know how he thinks I'm messing with him, but he's like, yo, one of you guys need to call me before I have a heart attack over here. Oh, Trace, thank you. I gotta put it up there again because it is so nice. It's pretty. Just so you guys could look at the stupid look on my face. So yeah, let's talk the rest of the season. So I'm in there. There are 3 bucks. This is the smallest of the three. The other two are in there. I can buy a bonus tag and I can shoot another deer in Maryland with that bonus tag in bow season. Now I can shoot up to 3, but the other one has to come out of a different season. So during the rifle season, I can still hunt all of the bow only areas. I just have to use the bow. Got to wear fluorescent orange during the rifle season. All that stuff that you have to do. Same with muzzleloader and then the late season. So there's an opportunity for me to head. I can head out west too, which is one of the things I'd like to do. Hunt the western portion of Maryland a little bit this year. But we're looking forward to a nice long season here in Pennsylvania, and we've got to spend a little bit of time doing some legwork before the season opens. Again, some other takes on hunting that maybe I don't talk about them too much when I'm doing the lives and I'm shooting, but specifically for me, I used to run a ton of cell cams, and I know I know Big Sexy probably runs a bunch of cell cams. I know these guys do it. Um, I know Bill does. Alfred was a fan of the cell cams. I have an archive of like 25,000 cell cam pictures, and a good majority of those are bucks because I would always target bucks. I'd put them up on scrapes and whatever, and I would get a lot of bobcats, a lot of coyotes coming into those scrapes too. But the challenge I have with the cell cams is the deer, they learn where that cell cam is and they know how to move around it without being caught on the camera. They're just really good at it. So I got away from doing cell cams for a long time, and now I don't think I'll ever go back. I don't think I need a cell cam because it's probably from a mental standpoint. I think it's less beneficial for me to have a cell cam than it is to just go out, find the deer on the ground, notice what they're doing, and then move in for the kill. And again, it's all reading the sign, it's reading the mountain, reading the wind, reading the hills and the valleys. That was on a WMA, Brandon. But yeah, when it comes to that cell cam issue, mentally I think it messes me up because if I don't see deer in a cell cam, I just kind of assume they're not there. But I know better. Like I just, if the sign says they're there, they're there. They've come into the cell cam. It's 14 feet a tree. Light clicks on. They look up. They see it. They never come back to that tree again. They just don't. Not the bucks I'm hunting. Not the big ones I'm worried about. I mean, yeah, you get that little 4 point in there at the scrape every day. Who cares? So I just kind of I stopped running the cell cams. Again, another private, personal thing that I do, and a ton of people probably disagree with me. But then there's also a ton of people in Ohio that are going to throw 75 pounds of corn on the ground, slap up a camera, And when they start getting signal and notifications that there's a deer, they check. They're like, "Oh, my shooter buck's there. I'm gonna head out." They go over there, and that deer goes and lays in the bedding area for a little bit, and 2 hours later comes back to the corn and they smoke it. Well, that's, I don't know. It's just not me. Back Mountain Outdoor has a scent control tent, I think, for his kit. Interesting. I've never seen this. IFV, I also have an ozone generator. They, like Ozonics, I think, probably started with the whole, I don't know, it's like a zip up bag. It's like a, what do you call those? Like a wardrobe is what it looks like. But, a lot of guys will use a box or a tote. I throw my stuff in a tote. Does the ozone help? I think the ozone removes a lot of human scent from your clothes. Like if you're on the road, you're hunting a couple days in a row, and your stuff starts to get a little stanky or a little whatever, you could throw it in the ozone box. It'll clean it up real quick. Um, but there's a smell to ozone too. It smells like electricity, like a lightning strike or something. And I don't think deer, I don't think deer are associated with humans quite yet. I think in the future, if they see enough of it, they will. But I do believe ozone generators have a place as far as cleaning up your gear. Woody Wood says, "Yeah, I quit using cams too." Um, yeah, I think from a mental standpoint, it messes me up more than it helps me because it like it lives rent free in my head. Like I'm not getting anything on that cam. I'm not hunting there. But I've done that, right? Even though I wasn't seeing deer on the camera, and I would be set up 50 yards from the camera, and I would just have a deer skirt that, like it would just skirt that camera every time. So once I realized that, it's like, well, it's worthless to put them out. Like it's not going to do me any good. It's not like I can go out and throw some bait out and get a bunch of pictures in the early part of the year because you can't do that. CWD, Pennsylvania law, all that stuff. So it's just easier for me not to worry about it. Uh, Big picture. Yeah, we talk suggestions, right? And again, don't let me steer you any certain way. How old are you? I know, dumb question, right? But that's where I got to start. And then what's your budget? And then maybe we can get into it. Yeah, Jang, I don't know. I don't look like one. All right, so you're probably pretty stable, pretty comfortable in your life, I'm going to assume. Um, 36 years old. You don't need a smaller gun. Like the reason I ask your age is because if you're smaller, right, there's probably some better calibers for younger folk. And we do have some kids kind of jumping on here from time to time. But um, what are you gonna hunt? You're gonna hunt deer, and is deer the only thing you're gonna hunt with that? Like, is this gonna be your only gun for a while? Because then you're kind of stuck between some pretty, we'll kind of put you in a cow. Like if I was gonna hunt deer, coyotes. I'm probably going to go with a 308. If you're going to go with black bear too, and you said you're in Canada, well, black bear get pretty big in Canada. Yeah, 7mm mag is probably a good caliber too. It's not overkill for deer like a lot of people think. You can jump way down to 150 grain bullet if you need to. Guys will swear by the 30-06, but I think you're better off with, if you're going to go like a high power, go to 7mm mag. But the challenge with the 7mm mag, there's going to be a huge price difference in ammo, right? And with a 7mm mag, you're probably going to want to put a muzzle brake on it because it's going to be brutal. Yeah, and you can do pretty good. Like you can get a 700 SPS or something like that from Remington in a bolt action, pretty decently cheap. The Tikka T3 and 308 is probably like, I'll throw that out there. That's a really daggum good gun. It's going to shoot super accurate. Thompson Center makes those one MOA guaranteed rifles. Those are also pretty economical. 300 Win Mag. See, that's what yeah, when you start to talk in a forum online, you're going to get 30,000 different opinions, um, and that's fine. I mean, it's cool. The Tika T3 is, yeah, it's probably a little bit more pricey. If you're looking to be super economical, the Ruger Americans. Again, you're from Canada, so maybe you don't want to buy something that says Ruger American on it. Best gun out of the box, probably right now for the price. Could be. Yeah, the 6.4. The only problem with getting a 6.5 is everybody's gonna tell him it's not good enough, and then he's gonna feel bad about it. I'm not saying they're bad, but you know, try to take a 6.5 and go elk hunting, and they will nail you to a cross. uh, yeah, I they and the Ruger American. I think they've got a new generation, a new model out there with like an adjustable cheek stock on it. It's got a really nice look and texture to it and finish, and it's gonna be like you can get it in a 450 Bushmaster if you want, but they've got it in all the standard calibers, like a 270, 308, something like that. It's gonna be great. Um, and then if you want to hunt big game sometime down the road, you go to 7 millimeter mag or something. But it's gonna like 7 millimeter mag is gonna be super. You're gonna pay probably $75 for 20 rounds. Questions for shotguns? You know, I'm not a big shotgun hunter, but I know a guy who's super into geese, and he would always try to steer you into one of these crazy Benellis. They're good guns. They are good guns. But I don't know if they're pretty enough for me, man. The Super Blackhawk is a good gun, but they're expensive, right? That's a pretty expensive gun. If you're looking for a pump action, um, you know, Browning's got some good. Like they used to make a BPS. I don't know if they still make that anymore. I thought that was one of the coolest guns ever. And you can't go wrong with the Remingtons. I, yeah. 30 outdoors. Like I'm with you. Ruger American 6.5 PRC, the Vortex scope. Dude, every gun that I have a scope on, it's a Vortex scope anymore. You can't beat them. You can't beat them. Totally agree with Thurby. Big picture, no problem, man. Yeah, and you could be into that. I mean, you could get a really decent Vortex scope for like 300 bucks. I mean, you get a pretty damn good one for like 150, but you look 350. 350 gets you a really good scope. You know, the problem is IFE, like we could get into some really good discussions there about European glass. There are some manufacturers that make some really good scopes. Not just, and again, I don't know what's all made or manufactured in the UK because I'm not as familiar, but I know there are some good pieces of glass coming out of the European market. What's my best shot I have done? What are we talking? We're talking with a rifle or with a bow? Hey guys, don't forget about this dude right here. There he is. With the rifle? Hmm. Been a long time since I shot a deer with the rifle. Uh, Best shot when I was a kid. I was hunting a pretty unfamiliar piece of state game lands in Pennsylvania, and I had not harvested too many deer, and this was back when it was just a buck season, doe season. We were out hunting does. It's a frigid, cold, miserable day. It's like 5 degrees outside with wind chills like -10. Um, and I had a deer come in and run through a real thick bottom, and I had a 7mm mag at the time. That was a Savage model 110 G11, I think, or 110-11, something like that. 110 Savage G 110. And I shot this deer at probably 225, 250 yards, probably. Um, while it was moving, like it wasn't on a dead run, but it was moving along. I just picked a spot out in front, and when the front of the deer hit the crosshairs, I squeezed the trigger and I hit her like the last rib. Schmidt and Bender, yeah, they look, man, they put together some really great optics. See over here, if somebody's going to get set up into long range, I don't know if it's an American thing. I don't know. I don't know why, but it just seems like Night Force. You know, they just want to use. I don't know. Sonny, you're welcome. We got a long season ahead of us. We got a lot of projects we want to work. Um, so I think I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'm going to reach out to Big Sexy, see if he wants to have me on his Monday podcast. If he wants to do that, we're going to have to set it up here. So I don't know. Like I said, this week's going to be a slow week for the hunting. I won't be able to get back into it till at least next Monday, right? Probably not Monday. More likely Tuesday and Thursday of next week, and then the following Saturday I think is the opener for Pennsylvania. The wife will be on a vacation. Um, yeah, the Tika T3, you can't go wrong. You're going to spend a little bit more money, but like I said, that's the kind of gun that you'll have forever, and you'll be able to pass that on to your kids or grandkids or whoever else you want to give it to later on in life when you don't need it anymore, because that's bulletproof. IFE, what do you think of CZs? I had a CZ 527 in 204 Ruger that was just an absolute tack driver. Thurby, that thing, it's mid 130s. It's got 11 scoreable points on it. The G3s and that one G4 are all about 9 inches long. The thing that really hurts this buck is it doesn't quite carry the mass on the right time. It would be your left here, and you can see when you're looking at it. You can see how the right one is much thicker than the left one down at the base, and that's not just an angle on the picture. That's pretty realistic what you're looking at. So this this one right here is much more mass on that side, so it doesn't carry the same amount of mass. And the other thing that kind of hurts is it's only got like a 15-inch spread. It's not a giant spread, but it's super tall. Main beams are just over 20 inches on one, and like 19 and 6/8 or 7/8 on the other. Brow tines aren't super great, but it's carrying a 16 mass one side, 15 and something on the other side, so it gets up there. IFV loves the CZs. I had a CZ 527 years ago, like I was saying. I had a Bell and Carlson glass bedded stock. The thing was just phenomenal. I should have never got rid of that gun. I have no idea. I've never had bear meat. Big picture. Thank you for the sub, my man. IFE. I don't know what you're thinking, but I kind of like this more chill kind of live. I might do this once or twice a week too, just to kind of reach out to everybody that's, I don't know, sort of more in tune with the story. Because I think when we're shooting the bow, we just got like it gets insane. We got 200-300 people on at a time, and it just it's ridiculous. Holy cow! Like look, personally, I've never been out to hunt elk. It's something that I'm going to do eventually. But I think anything over 350 on an elk's just an amazing elk. That's insane. Yeah, the 5.57 is another good one from CZ. Bill does have the basement. I have the kill room. We're going to start and refer to it as the kill room anymore. That's just what we're going to do. Got to get all the bows put back up on the wall. Got to get this computer box out of here. We got a lot of work to do. Bow season's here. Real steel angler. You a Maryland guy? Mention. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. I hate to butcher people's name. Well, that one's no longer in Maryland. He's at the taxidermist. I zoomed too far. So as far as like points are just measured in length, right? But the main beams, they have 5 measurements. You've got 4 mass measurements where just it's around the circumference of the antler, and then the length of the main beam. And then you also have the inside spread. You take the 4 mass measurements from the right, the 4 mass measurements from the left. You add all of the tine length and the inside spread and your main beam lengths, and then you add all that up, and that gives you your total. Yeah, for a Maryland public buck, dude, that. And the crazy part is, now he's got 11 points. If this in the front was longer, there'd be 12 points. But he's a double G2 split buck. He's got split G2s, both of them. Pretty phenomenal buck. You guys, if you follow the channel, later on this week, we're going to post a full video. You're going to get to see him rubbing out his velvet in a really crappy video. You're going to get to see me stalking around in the woods and kind of working my setup. And you also see me stuff an arrow in him. And then he ran off 40 yards and stood there. And then it took about 5 minutes for him to finally expire before he got super wobbly and went down. Really, really cinematic story, I guess. Then you get to see Alfred helping me with the recovery and all that jazz. It's pretty cool story. I'm gonna understand why I'm gonna pretend. Yeah, what we'll do, maybe we'll well, I don't know how long it's gonna take till we get him back, but maybe I'll pull this other one down off the wall and I'll run you guys through like if you guys want to see what it's like to score one. Again, I'm not a professional. I do this kind of as a hobby. Now hunting, I'm a professional hunter though. But scoring deer, I don't really. Yeah, I want to shoot big bucks. I think everybody wants to shoot big bucks. But if I had to tell guys, like if you came to me, like asked me for a rifle, hey, what rifle should I get? If somebody came to me and says, hey man, I want to hunt big bucks, what do I do? It's not necessarily how you go about it or anything specifically you could do to make yourself a better hunter. I think the number one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to be way more patient, and you've got to really want to do those 2 things, and then you can hunt bigger bucks. But you got to get those 2 things sorted out first. By patience, I mean you've got, like, if you find a buck, you've got to be willing to spend all season trying to kill it. It might take that long and you might not get it done. So that part, that and that perseverance that you need to have throughout that process is critical, because you'll give up if you don't have it, you'll give up. Deer hunting round. You're talking for a rifle. I'm a simple guy, man. Like, I don't try to overcomplicate things. I'm gonna say 308. The reason I'm gonna say 308 is because from a from a hunting perspective, it's for deer, it's totally fine. You can also use it to hunt coyotes or whatever. Super accurate. The cost of the ammo is low, and if shit ever hit the fan, I'd be able to find 308 rounds in every guy's basement. So that's why I'd say 308. Like, if I only had one rifle, it would be a 308 or a 22. But I'm not going to hunt deer with a 22 because it's not legal. I will when the end of the world happens, but no, I never went antelope hunting. I would love to go out and shoot some speed goats, man. Yeah, the good values and standards are also super important. Like, you'd be surprised how often I tell a story where, yeah, man, I had this buck coming in. He was, getting in super close, and just about the time that the shot opportunity was there, he kind of hung up, and then 5 minutes after dark, like 5 minutes after quitting light, he'd come in, and they'd be like, man, I would have shot that thing anyway. I'm like, I don't know if they actually would, but they had to say it, right? So I don't know if they're being serious or not, but I'm sure a lot of them, man. So I just click on the light, let her fly. Um, 50 yard shot with an arrow, and what's dropped you have? I don't understand that. See, that's what I do. I glass a lot when I'm in the stand. And people are always like, "Oh, you're moving too much, man. Like, you're moving. You'll never shoot one." Real. There was a couple times where I was set up on this deer's bedding area, and I thought I heard grunts, but I'm practically deaf in my left ear, so I don't know. Um, the first night I saw these Monday a week ago, right? So you're talking a full 7 days ago. The two bigger bucks that were with him, they didn't spar. They had a light tickle on the horns twice in the 15 minutes that I watched them. Uh, no, it's totally possible to kill a deer with a 22. There's probably been more deer killed with a 22 by poachers than any other caliber alone. Uh, I don't know if that's fact or not, but I know a lot of poachers will use a 22. They'll put a silencer on it, you can't hear it. Boom, it's done. Right in the head. Yeah, the shots you don't take, right? Like, that 8 point come down to me Thursday, and just 12 yards, 13 yards. I posted a short. Like, how do I pass that up with a recurve? And I haven't shot a deer with a recurve yet. Well, because he's up the hill. So real tough to make that decision. But in the end, if I'd have shot that 8 point, I would have never had the opportunity to shoot this one. No, nothing service related at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Little Toasty, we shot this guy right here, buddy. Yeah, real. If you're gonna rattle though, yeah, go super light yet. I wouldn't, there's maybe a little, maybe something like that, and just be done. I have really mixed, and again, I experiment with this stuff just probably as much as anybody. I have very mixed results from rattling and grunting. There's a lot of times where I've got a buck, he's just on a certain travel route. I can see him 100 yards. I grunt at him. 90% of the time, I get zero response from him. Now, if I've got a spot that I know bucks are cruising in and out of during a rut in a funnel, and I do maybe I'll do a doe bleat, little grunt, whack some horns together, do a snort wheeze. I could sit in a tree and I could do that every 15 minutes for maybe an hour or two. And eventually one of those deer, if it comes into that cruising area and can hear me, it'll come in. So, I have a lot of different results there. But grunt tubes, I think on overpopulated areas, and if you're hunting Maryland and it's public, they're all overpopulated with hunters, and probably not going to have the greatest results. I don't know. You go to Iowa and you hit a grunt tube and you got 9 deer that show up. I don't know how it works like that. This is King's camo. It's what was their XK7. But yeah, it's from King's. It's a brand I always want to try out, and I never had the opportunity to see it in a store. And I'm weird about buying stuff online. If I'm going to look at it online, I don't know how it's going to fit. I don't know how it's going to feel. And then when it shows up at the house, if it ain't right, then you got to go through that process of sending it back. Sergio, what's going on? Christy, you missed an 8-pointer. I'm sorry. But I was able to see this stuff in a local store. I tried it on. I was like, wow, the fit is just fantastic. And then I was like, I gotta buy a set of it, try it out. So I think maybe the whole 5-layer system set might be in my future someday. But it's expensive. Everything's expensive. Little Toasty, I did measure him. Again, I'm not super calculated in my measurement. I did use an adequate measuring system. Wrote down all the scores, and I come up with a number over 130. And yeah, the G3s on that thing, they're 9 inches long. This one right here, believe it or not, the picture doesn't do it any justice, but this one here is almost 9 inches long too, the G4 on that side. I don't know how much you can see the double split G2s, but you can see this one back here when it turns. And then this one on the other side is small. There's only about 1 inch of the point there, but probably an inch and 5/8 on the other side. But yeah, he's a big boy. He's got a big old helmet on him. I don't know how old he is. We're gonna take a look at the teeth and try to figure that out. But yeah, that's my biggest one. I've got 2 120s, low 120s bucks before that in the last 2 years, and then shot that one. K Roach, you think it's counterproductive? Yeah, I don't know. Calling, it's going to depend a lot on the individual buck that you're calling to. .5, 270, 300 Win Mag at 308. What are you using for deer rifle? I've covered this in detail. If I only had one gun, it would be a 308. A lot of reasons for that, Ben. It's not just for, deer hunting too. Like if the end of the world happens, like there's going to be plenty of 308 rounds to throw in that thing. There's going to be plenty of stuff, plenty of brass to reload if I ever need to. Little Toasty, the 30-06. Yeah, 30-06 is a great gun too, man. No problem with that whatsoever. But if I'm only buying one, it's going to be a 308 in a bolt action or an AR-10 platform. But anyway, guys, I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. I only wanted to be on for like 7 minutes, but we kind of got into a bunch of conversation there. I really appreciate it. The chat's always super live, so you guys are the best. We're going to get some videos out to you, and we're going to try to make Pain Train just a little bit more on the map than it already is, because things over the last couple of weeks have been fire for us. So going to take the proper sleeping pill. We're going to go snuggle, got some rest. Yeah, I need some craft beers right now. All right, dudes. I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening. Thanks for jumping on. Peace out. Thanks, IFE. Have a good one, my man.